Great innovations are happening in Greece. The Hellenic Federation of Greek Enterprises, SEV, and the Innovation Ready event this year focused on new technologies in shipping, in an effort to strengthen cooperation between major shipping groups and tech startups in Greece, with a transfer of know-how. Let's learn more about these activities by SEV, by Dr. Costas Troulos. Costas Troulos is an electrical and computer engineering. He has 15 years of experience in the telecommunications industry as an engineer, analyst, senior executive, and entrepreneur. For the last 10 years, he's assisting startups, innovative enterprises, and research teams to achieve their goals. He has worked in technology transfer, investment readiness, and business and IP strategy. He is senior advisor with SEV, and one of his most exciting challenges currently is exploring ways for the Greek diaspora to assist Greece to reach its fullness innovation potential. Dear Costas, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Christo. I didn't know that you are going to read my CV when I sent it to you. I thought it was for the proceedings, but thank you anyway. Thank you. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me here and giving me the opportunity to talk about SEV, the Hellenic Federation of Enterprises Initiatives, regarding innovation and growth. SEV has always considered innovation to be a key factor for sustainable growth, whether it concerns organic, corporate organic growth or startups and spin-offs growing up through an open innovation principles. So in recognizing the enormous value of innovation to meet future challenges, many of which we may not even know yet, SEV has placed innovation at the core of its strategy, in equal footing among enhancing industrial production, modernizing industry, transitioning to a green economy, digital transformation, skills development, lifelong learning. Apparently, innovation affects horizontally all these pillars, a fact that makes actually this an essential project for Greece. A Greece that will produce and export innovation and will create long-term wealth and value for the economy and the society. So I take this opportunity to guide you through the four most visible and important initiatives of SEV in this regard. First initiative is to improve Greece's innovation potential. SEV wants to help Greek enterprises to exploit their innovation potential and at the same time help startups grow. We run the Innovation Ready workshop series, something that Christos already mentioned. It is an effort that connects startups and the research community with the industry and the big enterprises. Essentially, the workshop helps startups and research teams to showcase their remarkable innovation, and then when the industry shows interest, they meet. The goal of the workshop is to develop synergies for the ecosystem. Enterprises integrate innovation, and startups and spin-offs grow faster. So far, we had more than 70 startups and spin-offs participating in our Innovation Ready workshops, and we have counted more than 70 B2B meetings among the industry and the research community and the startup community. But we also work on the reverse. So we visit members of SEV, understand their needs and challenges, and look for opportunities in the startup community. So we first visit the industry, understand what they need, and then we find the best fit in the startup community. The second initiative is about fostering a productive industry-academia collaboration. We have signed several memorandums of understanding, MOUs, with leading universities and research centers in Greece, like, for example, the National Technical University of Athens, the Democritus University in Thrace, the University of Economics and Business in Athens, the Research Center of Democritus as well, and more are coming. These MOUs have set a very productive framework for the industry to work with the academia to solve real business and social problems. Within this initiative, of course, we work with universities to establish an efficient plan for industrial PhDs as well, so that industry and academia will lay down the foundations to solve world-class problems, while simultaneously, of course, conducting essential and disruptive research. Within the same collaboration framework, we help outstanding research results reach the market, working with technology transfer offices and essentially facilitating technology transfer. And of course, MOUs offer other opportunities. New graduates can find good jobs with high potential in the industry and startups. Universities can design better frameworks for internships. Academia understands better the needs of the industry, and the industry understands better the concerns and potential of the research community. The third initiative is about innovative Greeks. We saw that there is an untapped source for growth and wealth for the country, and that is the Greek diaspora. We estimate that only in the United States, Greek businessmen own more than $100 billion companies in total. The valuation of the companies owned by Greeks or Greek businessmen, the value is over $100 billion. So we created Innovative Greeks, the community of inventive Greeks around the world. We want to offer a more structured way to all these people to be together, to start cooperating. We want to be able to ultimately take advantage of all the great minds, all the great minds of Greeks that we have already, and that they are interested in helping for the faster development of the innovation ecosystem in the country. The community currently has more than 5,000 members, with nearly 1,000 volunteers to help as mentors and advisors, by promoting Greece as a rising global innovation hub, by connecting startups with funds, global conglomerates, and other startups, of course. In 2022, we will work on creating the structure, the culture, and a feasible plan for the community, and we hope we will foster a virtuous cycle of cooperation between the Greeks of Greece and the Greeks abroad. Finally, the fourth initiative is the scale-up community. We want to make SEV the home for technology companies and startups. We think we are now a natural home in terms of values, in terms of organization, and in terms of seriousness. We are an organization that focuses on the substance and less on the image. And we think these companies are of that philosophy. So we created the Safe Scale-Up community, which is a special membership scheme for innovative companies. After almost a year, the Scale-Up community has more than 70 members, and these members include some of the most well-known and prominent technology companies in Greece, companies that make headlines and make the global community turn its attention toward Greece. Of course, SEV, a social partner, aims at strengthening the national innovation ecosystem. We have companies, the scale-up companies, working on the bleeding edge of technology, and they are the first to confront challenges and limitations in the regulatory and business framework. That gives us a unique insight into how markets and industry transform, and this allows us to offer targeted recommendations on how Greece can adapt to these changes. Before I finish, I would like to say a few words about the maritime industry, which is totally related to the event today. The industry is very traditional, and companies are more resistant to change, more reluctant to adopt new digital technologies. At least the pace of digitization is much slower than other industries. Maritime industry is an industry based on trust and relationships, right? But in recent years, we see a significant shift has taken place. Digital transformation becomes a strategic core among shipping companies to gain or maintain a competitive advantage at a time when everything becomes digital. And this happens in various forms. For example, the use of data. There is a massive amount of data available today, and real-time data analysis is hugely important in improving operations on the vessel, on business operations as well, or financial transactions, for example, refueling, or approaching the port, or finding staff, recruiting, supplies, contracts, procurement, etc. Artificial intelligence is another major aspect of the digital transformation in the industry. Artificial intelligence upgrades support systems from monitoring systems to controlling systems to even full autonomous systems in the near future. The technology offers great room for improvement and that cannot be achieved with traditional approaches like NUN reports or other paper-type reporting. Cybersecurity is also important when everything becomes digital, obviously. The safety of the crew, the security of the cargo, the equipment, the reliability and performance has to all be secured in a cyber way. And blockchain, finally, is a technology that could allow maritime in the near future to introduce virtual digital contracts that increase trust and efficiency of the transactions. So, what should Greece do? In Greece, and I'm talking about the maritime industry, we have excellent university studies to set up an innovation ecosystem. So yes, we have amazing talent. Greece is also a global leader in shipping, so we also have a domestic clientele, which is essential when starting a venture. And the shipping industry also has funds, a lot more than it takes to start a startup. So what is needed for the industry to innovate to a level that will actually make a difference is investing, taking risk, and collaborating. But bottom line, Greece ticks all the necessary boxes. The key elements are here. So one final remark. When we study examples of other ecosystems in the world, like Singapore or Estonia or Israel, how they started, the problems they faced, where they are today, I think there are two major conclusions that we can take out. First, it is clear that the role of innovation in an economy of our size can change our destiny dramatically. Look where we are today and compare where we were 10 years ago. We witnessed an increase in market capitalization of technology companies from 0 10 years ago to more than 6 billion euros today. The second point is that this is something achievable, but requires effort and collaboration. It will require a lot of collaboration, investments, results, and excellent communication to the local and national ecosystem. And let me stay on that because this is very important, because when stakeholders appreciate the value of the ecosystem, they believe in it. And only then the benefits of the ecosystem can be internalized. This only happens when success gives back to the ecosystem, when a successful exit offers incentives for new investments, when an expert starts his own startup or when he works for another startup, when seasoned executives have the desire to work in a startup for the excitement and the thrills and the benefits in the long run. This is how ecosystems are built. So suppose we succeed in this, and why not? Innovation will become a significant portion of the national GDP, and we will all be very happy. And Greece will be looked at in a different eye. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Costas. Very enlightening your presentation. It's good to know that that SEV embraces the startuppers, the innovators, and bridges the gap between research and the market. Now it's time for our first discussion panel, where the technology bridges with the industry's needs. Shipping and maritime strategies, plan the next day. The view and the strategic plans for the future by the industry representatives. How shipping industry and ICT providers plan the next day. What are their concerns, challenges, and what are their needs? How these actors imagine their next day. The panel will be moderated by colleague and good friend, Eirini Liadi. Eirini is a graduate of Ruskin University and holds a master's degree in business economics with a focus on international trade. She has been a senior sales specialist in the ICT department of OTE since 2016 and specializes in business development abroad. Dear Eirini, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Christos. Thank you very much. Honored to be here today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity. Today, as Christos mentioned, we have to challenge ourselves and, of course, to inform the market about the new trends and how technology can assist. So today's goal is that whatever the role in shipping industry you have, that you will come away with a fresh perspective and above all, a new ecosystem outlook. Today we're going to have welcome four key stakeholders who are located in Spain, France, Sweden, and of course Greece. Gentlemen, good day.
Good morning. Good day.
Hello.
Afternoon.
How are you?
Fine. Thank you for inviting us.
Fine.
That's great.
Excellent.
That's great.
Okay.
I would like to, before I start my the presentation and make the questions here, I would be very glad while I will introduce all of you. First is Mr. Lucas Moulin, Mikael Lind, Mr. Miguel Llop, and Mr. Stelios Sabanis. Good morning. I can't see you.
Hello,
I can't
yes.
hear you. Can you move this? Can you move this because I can't see the people. Sorry about that.
As long as you can hear us.
Yes, but I
that's
can't
okay.
see you. Sorry. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Very, very kind of you. So, Miguel, hola, buenos días.
Buenos días. Ya veo que aprendes español.
Muchas gracias. So, Miguel Llop is a Digital Innovation Director in Foundation of Valenciaport. He's experienced in 25 years on digital processes and logistics, maritime transport, and ports. Foundation Valenciaport is an applied research, innovation, and training center of the Port of Valencia and providing services to the Port of Logistic clusters. Following is Mr. Lucas Moulin. Bonjour, Lucas. Ça va?
Bonjour. Très bien.
C'est bon. Has been working in Traxens since 2016, and he has been involved both in automotive and logistics innovations for more than 15 years. Traxens has been created to bring transparency to the container shipping industry by fitting trackers onto containers to feed algorithms and applications solving shippers and carriers' problems. Lucas now is leading the innovation initiatives and dreams of moderating the 60-year-old shipping container. Very interesting, Lucas. Mikael Lind, good morning. Did I pronounce it correctly?
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't speak Swedish. So welcome aboard as well. Mikael is a professor in Maritime Informatics at Chalmers University of Technology and Senior Strategic Research Advisor at the Research Institute of Sweden, the named RISE. He has initiated and headed a substantial part of several open innovation initiatives related to ICT for sustainable transport of people and goods. Mikael serves as an expert for World Economic Forum Europe's Digital Transport and Logistic Forum. And last but not least, because the conversation will start, is Kalispera Stelios.
Καλησπέρα σας.
Εύχομαι να είσαι καλά.
Εξαιρετικά.
Is the head of ICT at GasLog, driving both ICT strategy and day-to-day operations on board and ashore. He has close to 20 years experience in the managing ICT operations for LNG, dry cargo, tankers, chemical tankers as well. He has also served as an ICT manager for Chalmers LNG services from 2007 to 2011, and prior to that, as an ICT manager for Unicy Shipping and as communication manager for Ceres Hellenic Shipping Enterprises from 1990 to 2005. You hold an MPA in Information Systems by École Supérieure de Commerce et de Management, Athens campus. Welcome, gentlemen, on board, and let's start our discussion. So, data plays a key role for the digitization of smart ports and for the industry. Miguel, please forward your views to us.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Well, yes, it's Michael or Miguel?
Miguel. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's me. Okay, we have the same name, so big confusion on that. Well,
I did it on
data plays
purpose.
a key role as it is at the. Sorry?
I did it on purpose.
Okay. Well, yes, I mentioned data plays a key role as it is part of the heart of the port digital transformation. And collaborative data sharing is an ideal solution for ports. However, it requires to deal with different challenges. First, you need to gain the trust of stakeholders providing data. Second, you have to achieve a global or common identification of the different data providers and data consumers. Third, you need to achieve a good interoperability among different digital platforms where data is held. Fourth, to take into account the data sovereignty and the data governance factors that determine who can access to what data and when. And five, you need to achieve attractive business models capable to engage all stakeholders. Ports are complex ecosystems comprised of multitude of entities, both public and private. And in Valencia, we have identified that digital transformation in ports could be carried out at 4 different levels. The first level will be the internal digital transformation of the entities that are carrying out their activities inside the port facilities. We are talking here about port authorities, maritime authorities, port terminals, nautical services such as pilots, tugboats, or moorers, the customs, control border agencies, and border control posts. The second level is the digital transformation of the port facility. This is by interconnecting all these entities I mentioned in a single ecosystem, sharing and providing data in real time. For example, for the coordination of the port and maritime authorities as well as nautical services, in Port of Valencia, we have launched a startup to create a solution for a port collaborative decision-making, or CDM, that Michael, my colleague Michael, is also knowing a lot about it. For the coordination of, this is for the coordination of the vessel arrival and the consecution of the just-in-time vessel arrivals, currently being promoted by the Digital Container Shipping Association. And for example, another example is the implementation of an automated and virtual gate system capable of automatically determining the authorization for a truck to enter or exit the port when picking up or delivering containers or goods. Well, the third level in this digital transformation is the port community level, where sharing data is very important for organizing port logistics, where the main exponent of this digitalization are the port community systems. Port community system, or PCS, support the data sharing required to organize all port logistics and operations among the port stakeholders, being inside and outside the port facility. And finally, the fourth level that I would like to mention is the digital transformation towards a hyper-connected port, capable to participate in digital global shipping initiatives, digital freight corridors, smart cities, and in sharing the real-time data generated by infrastructures, vessels, vehicles, containers, freight, people, businesses, and government. So the hyper-connected port is also open to the use of new emerging technologies that were mentioned before. So yes, indeed, data plays a key role for the digitalization of smart ports and for the industry, I think, in all these 4 levels. So this is my introduction on this topic. Thank you.
Miguel, thank you for sharing your feedback. We just keeping up the keywords here, which is data sharing, gain, trust, data governance, factors, ecosystems, very important words. And leaving Miguel, we go straight forward to Lucas. Lucas, data is the new gold?
Yes, indeed, I fully agree with you and Miguel. But I want to touch upon and go back to the problems to solve to expose how to plan the next day for data. So there has been a tremendous shock to supply chains, mostly due to imbalances between supply and demand. Supply, which was hindered by COVID, and demand spurred by the stimulus packages for governments, and also for the shift from services to goods during the lockdowns. And this led to congestion in the ports, so a lot of vessels waiting outside some ports, either due to ship shore or port hinterland limitations. Also equipment shortages, and all that emphasizes and exaggerates the problems with cargo around the world. There are also extra enablers advocating for change. So we have been realizing with COVID, with geopolitical tensions, that we have extended too far, maybe too far from our own borders. And also environmental concerns mandate practices to change. So we have already seen manufacturing relocations to simplify supply chains, and also sourcing materials and energy from closer partners and allies. So in this scheme, in this environment, one of the solutions, it's not the only one, but one of the solutions can be to share indeed more data, to build a collaboration and to build common answers and focus on global optimization of the supply chain instead of using data just to increase pressure on the next actor in the chain. So data plays a key role in the evolution and adaptation of ports and the industry. But we need more data sharing to have a global situational awareness and allow processes like Miguel mentioned, just in time, slot management, and in the end, stop wasting resources. So there are indeed great initiatives like DataPorts, for which we are part in Traxens, and Tridlands also as a good example. But sometimes data ownership can still be an issue. For instance, when bartering for data has limitation, when the value of data or cost to generate data are not balanced. And we need to find ways to build a neutral and secure ecosystem to benefit from crossing all the data sources safely and efficiently.
Lucas, thank you very much. Very interesting point you just mentioned. And we are keeping the keywords neutral, initiatives, data, secure. But we have to move on because more will come, more interesting points that Mikael will share with us. So data is the key role as data plays a key role as it is at the heart of the port digital transformation. Mikael?
Thanks a lot, Eirini, and glad that you make this Swedish translation to good morning as well. First of all, I think I'm in my forehead, it is basically stamped digitalization. I've been working on that for a long time. I think that importantly, we need to go back and think about what is the practice that actually the digitalization is supporting. I used to say that you can never detach the human agency or the business practice from technology. And so therefore, we need to go back and start thinking about in which setting does the maritime and the port operations actually are actually conducted. And what we used to coin is what we call the self-organized ecosystem. All transport activities are actually conducted within a self-organized ecosystem. It might be so that we have a situation where we have more actors that could be governed in some settings. I mean, we have more stronger port authorities in some parts of the world, and we have a more open ecosystem, to say, in some ports. In any case, we see and we need to conceive the port as a hub of different types. It is not just a window to the sea. It is a transport and logistic hub, which means that we need to understand the practice of that. Yesterday, there was a new article published actually on how we actually may adopt the opening hours of the port, and that was actually brought from a case from Port of Valencia, of looking upon arriving ships and the frequency of the arriving trucks, and can we somehow used by using AI methods, analyzing the data and seek opportunities to flatten out the peaks of the road infrastructure, for example. So having said that, I think it is important that we both conceive the port as a transport logistic hub, but also as an energy hub, which is emerging a need now due to the fact that we are talking about supplying the transport sector with fossil-free energy, and it's also a digital hub by providing a lot of information to the ones that are using the port. So coming back to what Miguel said, we did together with Valenciaport Foundation, or Fundación Valenciaport, develop what we call the port CDM, or the situational awareness tool for making a better coordination of the port calls coming in. And that served also as a very important foundation for the development of Maritime Informatics, which is something that is now emerging throughout the whole world, with practitioners and researchers joining forces for enhancing the efficiency, sustainability, safety, and resilience of shipping.
Mikael, thank you very much for sharing your views. I keep up the word from your feedback, the word hub, very important, apart for the rest that will come. And Stelios, last but not least, where we stand.
Well, Eirini, we are living a new era, which is under the name of Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is data-driven, and is changing the way we live, we work, we interact with our environment and with each other. In essence, it is the trend towards automation and data exchange, using technologies and processes which include IT, OT, Internet of Things, cloud computing, cognitive ports, artificial intelligence. We are witnessing great efforts by organizations in changing their infrastructure and their business model to be able to align and respond to the demands of this new era. Mr. Troulos earlier mentioned the shift in the shipping industry. In the shipping industry, there is a continuous pressure to reduce costs, gas emissions, but also to improve efficiency. All of these are the main drivers for data management and digitalization. To answer your question, indeed, data plays a key role for the digitization. But data without processing means nothing. Data without sharing means almost nothing. The combination of data capture, data validation, data analytics are the key accelerant of an organization's digitization and transformation efforts. This stands for any type of company, not just smart ports, smart cities, but any organization.
Correct.
Yet today, fewer than 50% of documented corporate strategies mention data and analytics as fundamental components for delivering enterprise value. There is hope. We expect this to raise. This number is increasing. Why? Because the traditional business models and analog business processes are no longer sustainable. Organizations are required to take decisions faster and be forward-looking.
Thank you, Stelios. Thank you very much.
Quality of data. Just give me another minute, Eirini.
Of course.
I want to mention about the quality of data. Because data, though they have become an important enterprise asset, but reliable data are an invaluable strategic asset. And bad data can have significant business consequences for companies. There are technologies that enable the data capture, validation, and sharing, like blockchain. That has also been mentioned during today's conference. And data without protection, again, is nothing.
Yes.
Security is the cornerstone of the blockchain technology. And as a conclusion, I would like to close that the quality of data and also the underlying technologies that can facilitate the process and sharing of data play and will continue to play a key role to digitization efforts in every industry.
Stelios, thank you very much. We are keeping the words from your feedback: artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, alignment, improvement, security, and above all, traditional business model, which are the key words from your feedback. But I don't want to, since you are, you have the sequence and the role of the discussion, I will have to place you another question, Stelios. As shipping representative, can you please enlighten us whether the IT units are ready to face digital transformation challenges and which are the main concerns?
There is no simple answer to your question. You refer to IT units.
Yes.
IT units have the required desire and competencies, not only to face, but also to lead digital transformation initiatives. But digital transformation is not an IT project. It requires a revolution to the operation model of the organization and a shift to a data-driven culture, something that we discussed previously.
Yes.
Simply put, data-driven is when data is used to make decisions at every level of the organization. Now, according to recent studies, 70% of digital transformation initiatives fail. This is a big number. This is often because these initiatives are built from bottom up, focusing only on technology enhancements. And I strongly believe, and I hope that you agree, it should be the other way around, a top to bottom approach. It is essential that senior management must be engaged and committed in the process of digital transformation to ensure employee involvement. Now, I would like to refer to a paper I use very often in such discussions, a paper by George Westerman, who is a researcher in A.M.M.I.T.E Center. He encourages us not to confuse change and transformation, to not confuse digital transformation with the change or upgrade of IT systems. And an example from nature that we can all understand that's happening every day, a transformation that, when done correctly, turns a caterpillar to a butterfly. If done wrong, if you keep focusing on technology, all you have is a really fast caterpillar. So the question is that, what do you want to be transformed to? IT as a function was, is, and will be ready to accept digital transformation challenges. I have no doubt. As long as there are a clear vision and a clear process. Technologies come and go. To select and implement the most appropriate technology, this is the IT part. The expectation is that real business results will come from all other business functions that utilize the selected technologies.
Stelios, your approach is one of the kind, giving up the use case and example. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. I have to go towards another motivating question. And Mikael, in which way could ports act to provide more visibility to cargo owners and transport buyers?
So, thanks a lot for which I think is a very tempting question that has been on the table for quite some long now. And first of all, I'm pretty engaged with internationally very present cargo owners and transport buyers in different settings. And what I hear in a unified voice from them is that they do not, the whole transport, multimodal transport is a big black box. And that is a challenge for us. It's an enormous challenge. And I'm saluting, to be honest, the work that Traxens is doing, because what you basically are saying is that we don't care whether a shipping company or a port would be able to provide some information about our operations, because we put the whole sensor directly onto the container. And I think that this is a really disruptive innovation, if I call it like that, by having the connected goods. So what I believe in strongly is this perspective of combining multiple data sources, because that means at the end of the day, it's no really use for the single logistical service provider to refuse sharing the data, because somebody will get the data anyway. Mm-hmm. I can pretty well now by data analytics or machine learning methods can actually determine which arrival time a certain ship will have in a reasonable interval, so to say. And we were dealing with Miguel and myself, and we did the sea traffic management. Okay, let the ship bridge communicate their estimated time of arrival. But I think there are other means to actually do that, to acquire that information. However, at the same time, we need to also acknowledge that the whole supply chain is extremely disrupted. And you have seen the reports outside LA, where we have hundreds of ships waiting outside the port of LA, and we just recently made a correlation to the rising inflation, due to the fact that people do have uncertainties when things will actually happen. So in this role, there is a role for the port to actually communicate, and not just what is happening and what has happened. It is also important to communicate what the plans are in association to the goods that is actually as a concern for the ones that are utilizing the port. So having said that, I think it is extremely important that we do not build upon the legacy that we have established over so many thousands of years. And I would like to phrase or echo what Michael Hammer said in the beginning of the 90s, who was pushing this business process engineering field. He said, do not pave the cow paths. That means basically do not digitalize bad processes. We need to think new. And I think bringing new value to cargo owners is a necessity that will drive a change for the whole business. And here, smart ports are extremely important with standardized interfaces and access rules responding to the agility in the market.
Mikael, thank you very much. I can see Lucas waving positively while you were talking. Very interesting themes you have touched, and Lucas is really, agreeing. So let's go to Lucas and ask Lucas, container tracking technologies are valuable assets and a pillar source of data generation? And if yes, how will assist the transformation of maritime industry?
Obviously, being a tracking company specialized in this industry, I'm at least as convinced as Mikael that we generate value. So indeed, with all the requirements we mentioned earlier and the tension already existing in the port to hinterland transition, for instance, we need more synchronization to release the operations and make them smoother. For instance, there is a will to use more rail freight, but it's less flexible than other way of transportation. So it requires better synchronization, and then a very precise and timely location information at all times without blind spots can allow to extend the hinterlands of ports to have a more sustainable industry and to improve the efficiency of the transport. So this is on one point on the location aspect of the tracking devices. But then on another point, there are also many visibility solutions that use multiple data integrations from sources that track the vessel or track the truck instead of the cargo like we do through the container. They add on top declarative information for entry and exit of each logistic node. And this make for great solutions that help to improve logistic flows. However, there are some key features that cannot be tackled without container sensors, like cargo integrity, transportation security, and for instance, having humidity or temperature sensors in the container can allow for for some commodities like coffee to be able to react quicker to spoilage, to anticipate alternatives during the season. In addition, valuable cargo can be stolen, contraband goods can be introduced in containers, and a very reliable door opening detection can also provide, along with a very precise geolocation, the way to detect events, trigger operational response. I go back to what Stelios said. We need to not just generate data, but to package the data and transform that into a valuable alert that we can send to the port, to the customs for the reaction, and not only just generating a tremendous mass of data. So having this layer of abstraction and this layer of analysis is also good for traders and insurance cargo entities that benefit from cargo integrity, transportation security practices. So indeed, container tracking technologies can assist the transformation of the industry, even with localized deployments based on value. And we already have currently a critical mass to improve the operations in ports that do not have a strong port community system, like Valencia or others. So we have a lot of things to do and to bring to the maritime industry with our products and others in the industry also.
Thank you, Lucas. Very interesting. Improvement, customer satisfaction, cargo, traders, and solutions, use cases you just brought with the coffee. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's go to Miguel. And now, please, bearing in mind that Port of Valencia in 2021 was in 4th place in Europe in container traffic. Elaborate with us the strategy in which we'll lead Valenciaport so to meet the next day. Miguel? Miguel, can you hear us?
Now I think it was muted. I don't know why. Well, main traffics, I was explaining that main traffics at the Port of Valencia are mainly, for those that you don't know it, it's containers and Ro-Ro. In 2021, the port handled 5.6 million TEUs, and this is more or less containers, and it is already being limited or constrained by its capacity. So it is planning a big enlargement with a new container terminal that will double the capacity, and it will be the first fully automated terminal and fully electrified in Spain. This means an investment of more than 1,400 million euros to develop this terminal. At the same time, and this happens in many ports in Europe, especially, the port is located inside a wonderful city, as it is Valencia. So the Port Authority is highly concerned about the sustainability of their port activities. For this objective, the Port Authority of Valencia has established an ambitious program to become a zero-emission port by 2030, which will be 2 decades ahead of the objectives that both Spain, Europe, and international organizations have projected for 2050. Finally, together with the digital transformation strategy I mentioned before, with the 4 levels of data, the 4 levels of transformation, data sharing will become a key success factor to meet the next day of the port. And in this path, innovation must also be a driving factor for the next day of the port. Just yesterday, it was announced in the framework of the Mobile World Congress, which is being celebrated in Barcelona, that the Port of Valencia is going to create an innovation hub. And Fundación Valenciaport, together with Telefónica, that is the traditional Spanish telecommunication operator, are going to jointly develop an incubation and acceleration program for this innovation hub. This action is not going to be focused only on the field of containers, but it will cover the entire spectrum of activities that the Port of Valencia has, such as passengers or the transport of cars, automobiles, among others topics. So this is more or less what it is being planned in the port of Valencia for the next day. And I hope that this plans will not be disturbed with this tremendous action of the war that is we are facing today.
Thank you, Miguel, very much. And we cross fingers. I mean, it's not a happy thing what we are living right now. Completely agree with that. Now, it's a big time, gentlemen. What is the key message? We have 15 minutes to go before the closure and, of course, the end of this session panel. What is the key message that you would like to share with us and, of course, with our distinguished audience? Let's start with Stelios.
Sorry, Mikael, I saw that you have raised your hand. The key message is part of what I have already shared with you. First of all, the importance of data. We have highlighted the importance of data, but we have also highlighted the need for the appropriate process and the appropriate technology to be in place. We also need to sit back and set the vision, each and every one of us in our organizations, where we want to go and how we can see our organization in the years to come. Definitely the models that we had in place so far are no longer sustainable. We need to change the way we operate, and we need to embrace technology. We need to embrace new ways of thinking.
Thank you, Stelios. So agility and vision to accomplish the mission. Very good stated. And let's go to Lucas. Lucas.
Yes. Okay, so maybe a suggestion, especially relevant for technology guys like me, focus on the problems to solve. So it doesn't serve anyone to build and make a do-it-all digital platform that is loosely connected to the actual pain points to target. So we should focus our efforts on dedicated, secure, and interoperable solutions to implement the necessary changes. So really, we should spend, and especially as an engineer on my side, we spend a lot of time thinking about the issues that we need to solve before jumping to a solution. So it's the suggestion I make today.
Thank you very much, Lucas, for that. And how about Mikael?
Let's see here. So I would like to. I'm thinking about two alternative answers here. I will provide both of them. Mm-hmm. One is that I would like to quote the Norwegian explorer Thor Heyerdahl, if you know him. He was going over the ocean all over the world and exploring the world in different ways. And he said, "Borders, I have never seen one, but I've heard they exist in the minds of some people." And I think that is a beautiful quote for what we can achieve with digitalization, because that is basically borderless in that sense. But and I think importantly is that we need to drive and support the people's mindset in such a way so that we dare to take these different types of initiatives. And that is really built upon that we need to go towards raising the skills of the people. Because very many mariners, as of today, are trained in a totally another school than the one that we are aiming for now. And we have very many people out there that needs to go to that direction. So that was alternative one in my answer. Alternative two in my answer is that there are, in this session here, there are two research institutes. It is RISE and it is Fundación Valenciaport. And what I think that our purpose and our support should be in the world here is to help actors such as Traxens in order to bring down the time from idea to implementation. And I think that we see too many test beds and too few real implementations that are reported about. And having said that, if we think about the whole sector or the whole initiative around decarbonization, we really see that there's so much of uncertainty among many different actors at the moment that they do not know which kind of investments that should be made. So we need to support and secure and make future-proof technologies for the investments as to come. And that requires the skills of the people and the right mindset. So let's break the borders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mikael. So mindset, skills, support, beautiful words, beautiful, very strong words, very strong words. Let's go to Miguel. And Miguel, please, a message.
Well, yes. Today we are on the digital age, and it is been mentioned everywhere, but today is still very difficult and expensive to know where the goods are along the transport chain and also to organize its transport. It is important to know that in this transport chain, nobody holds all the information, but the information is distributed along the chain in possession of different stakeholders, who in many cases enclose this data in silos with a lack of connectivity. And it is wonderful to achieve a collaborative data environment for data sharing, but it is important to deal in this sense with the business and technical challenges that we mentioned today in this session, like trust, data ownership, data sovereignty, data governance, stakeholders, digital identities, digital platform interoperability, and also attractive business models that makes that these silos gets broken and we can have this effective collaborative data sharing that is important in not breaking the logistic chains that nowadays are being tensioned very much.
Miguel, thank you very much. From your end as well, trust, very, very important underlying word. You just mentioned data sharing, of course, sharing and have the best outcome from this. Now we are almost there. It's almost a few minutes before we have to finish our panel discussion. If I am allowed, I would say that it is not the going out of port message, but the coming in that determines the success of the voyage. And you just express it by all means to the audience today, and we're all very glad about that. I would like to thank you about this. You are one of the kind, and we are very much appreciate having stakeholders as yours in positions around the world, and you can support the ecosystem of ports. Now I have to say goodbye, and we have reached the end of our panel session. I would like to thank you, the audience, and of course Slide to open for this event today. May you have a lovely, great evening, and be safe from the coronavirus. May we have free sales and free travels, and next time we'll be able to meet each other from close. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye.
So the industry just spoke. They have a strategy, they have plans for the next day to transform the seaports, to make them smart and cognitive. We heard earlier the innovations side. So the only thing that is missing is to bring them together and create the smart ports of the future, to make them really smart and cognitive by data exploitation. Now, let's move on. They say that before to transform, you need to fix the basics. And some of these basics are to simplify the processes, to benefit from the available data, and offer services to the citizens and the community. Who else can better describe the strategy from the governmental point of view but by Mr. Leonidas Christopoulos, the Secretary General of Digital Governance and Simplification of Procedures at the Ministry of Digital Governance. Mr. Christopoulos has worked as an advisor to several ministers, as well to the President of the governing party on the field of the public administration reform. He has coordinated significant public administrative reform projects in Greece, such as the reorganization of the Greek central administration, the reduction of administrative burdens in several policy areas, the public financial management agenda, and the new law of the executive state. Mr. Christopoulos holds a degree in political science and international relations from the Padion University and a master's in international political economy from the Warwick University. Let's welcome Mr. Leonidas Christopoulos.
Dear organizers, ladies and gentlemen, first let me express my gratitude for inviting me here as a speaker to a very, very interesting topic. I heard very mind-triggering things regarding data in ports, the digital transformation of port authorities and generally the seaports, but as it was very rightly mentioned, all this digital transformation agenda needs to sit upon very stable fundamentals that have to do with how the state functions, with how the state assesses its procedures, with how it creates policies regarding data. You all know that we do have a lot of regulations coming from the EU in the next few months regarding data governance, the Data Act, the AI Act. So there is a lot of regulation regarding all these issues. However, I am here to share with you the government's strategy and methodology on the transformation of Greece, starting, of course, with the transformation of the state itself, which, in my opinion, is really critical since by transforming critical state functions, we essentially support the economy and businesses, both big and SMEs. We create a favorable administrative environment for attracting and fostering investments, and we strengthen entrepreneurship and we boost innovation. And especially in such important sectors of the economy like the shipping industry, we must provide a suitable administrative environment which will be essential and is essential for the national economy. And we know that in the Ministry of Digital Governance. We are aware of that, and that's why we created this secretariat that brings together the digitalization, the digital transformation of Greece, together with the simplification of procedures. So I would start by saying a few words on how we perceive this transformation, saying that, well, in the Ministry of Digital Governance, since its establishment back in July of 2019, we had a very clear mission statement and a very clear mandate. Focus on procedures, simplify procedures, digitalize procedures, reduce them whenever possible, wherever possible, codify and streamline the legal framework, wherever possible again, create a better regulatory environment, and attack red tape both at the top, meaning at the rulemaking level, as well as the bottom, which is the application of the rules by the various implementing agencies. Our vision in the ministry and in the government in general is of an effective state that can complement and support the economy by reducing red tape, tackle bureaucracy, and essentially producing government functions that are citizen-centric and business-friendly, while at the same time protecting the public interest. A fine line indeed, and a very difficult balance to hit, but one that we always need to be trying to find. However, we understood as a government, and most of all the Prime Minister himself, that we want to attract investments in all economic sectors and enhance productivity and effectiveness for the economy, we need to reduce, at the minimum necessary level, businesses' resources that are being spent on bureaucratic interactions with the state. These resources are valuable for the economy and, of course, for the country's prosperity as a whole. This problem, the bad use of resources, is not a new one, of course. Relevant data exists even from the past decade. For example, benchmarking metrics from the European Union in the past decade revealed that Greece had the most bureaucratic state in the Union, with the cost of the administrative burdens imposed on businesses and citizens amounting to almost 8% of its GDP at that time. This cost was the highest among EU countries. Just imagine if part of this 8% was reduced and the resources devoted by businesses in servicing this 8% were thrown back to the real economy. As I said, the problem is not new, and of course various governments have acted several times to simplify the administrative environment. For example, back in 2013, together with the current Prime Minister, Mr. Mitsotakis, when he was Minister of Administrative Reform, we embarked together with the OECD on a mass-scale reduction of red tape in 13 policy sectors that led to 500 million euros worth of administrative burdens being saved from businesses from the simplification of administrative procedures. 5 million euros worth of business resources that were thrown back to the real economy with measures like lifting the VAT threshold to 10,000 euros or abolishing the obligation of companies to publish their economic statements at the National Gazette, which at that time was obligatory. However, one thing was obvious to everyone who has the slightest idea of how the public administration works. Even at times where the state actually interfered to improve the administrative environment, it did it on an ad hoc basis. In other words, there was no concrete policy to assess and simplify procedures on a rolling basis. There were, of course, ad hoc interventions, as I said, but no one could keep track of their impact on the market or of their overall effectiveness or even of their sustainability in the medium term. In a sense, we might be reducing red tape in one area and increasing it in another. Who is watching that on a permanent basis? Certain countries went as far as to create independent watchdogs to monitor what is going on. Netherlands created ACTAL, Germany has a special watchdog function on its statistical authority, etc. And it was exactly that point that I would dare to say was the weak point of our efforts as a state. And learning from the shortcomings of the past, from the pathologies of the Greek state and its ability to produce viable and sustainable policies for the overall improvement of the quality of state's functions, we decided as a government to create this ministry that would produce such a policy, a ministry that would be able to operate in a more agile and flexible way than in the past. And as you all know, the Ministry of Digital Government is not only the Ministry of Digitalization, it is also the Ministry of the Simplification of Procedures, of Administrative Procedures. And our main goal is to establish a new public policy on the smooth and effective functioning of the state, a policy that will be concrete, using all the tools that technology can offer us in order to improve citizens' and businesses' experience when dealing with public administration. If I could sketch the main framework of this policy to you, I think that you would understand the scope of the project. It is a project that significantly exceeds the digitalization of many public services that has already taken place via GovGR during the past 2 years. The policy is called National Policy of Public Procedures. It's a big umbrella, and it's comprised by 3 interconnected pillars. The first pillar being the new National Registry of Procedures, MITOS, which will gather all administrative procedures. It will be like the Diavia of administrative procedures. We already have registered 1,300 procedures, and we think that by the summer, or by the end of the year, we will have the majority of administrative procedures register in this registry. So imagine a simple point of truth for each procedure, what documents are valid, how much money you need to pay, etc., so that no citizen or business or even a civil servant can face the legal uncertainty of not understanding what obligations a certain procedure include. The second pillar is what we call the National Policy of Process Simplification. This is the pillar that contains much of the work we've already done regarding new digital services in areas like justice, transport, life events, education, social security, etc. And of course, it contains the work that we will do in the months to come. We incorporate a single methodology to process simplification, but moreover, we aspire for the policy to become the main umbrella under which all simplification and digitalization projects are being placed. I am happy to inform you that one of the main areas that we will focus for the next few months is the one that has to do with ports and naval issues. Minister Pierakakis and Minister Plakiotakis have already signed an MOU that has 40 actions regarding the simplification and digitalization of several areas, like the life cycle of ships, or the administrative procedures related to seaports and touristic marinas, and all this area that has to do with the shipping industry. It was signed by the two ministers, and we are ready to launch a project for the process simplification and digitalization for many of these issues. The third pillar is the most challenging one, and it entails the measurement of our actions in order to be able to design more robust and effective policies. The best practices that I mentioned earlier, the watchdogs that other countries have established regarding the burdens, the administrative burdens, we want to be able to measure them, to measure our interventions, and to create a master indicator of how much bureaucracy this country has, which is a very important indicator for investors that want to invest in Greece. We are still taking our first baby steps regarding the Observatory for Bureaucracy, that is the name of the third pillar, and we hope that in 2 years' time from now, Greece will be able to quantify and assess all its bureaucracy and create, maybe for the first time, a mechanism that will put pressure to the whole public administration to reduce unnecessary burdens to citizens and businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, I have tried to sketch the policy of the simplification of administrative procedures that goes together with digitalization in creating this new public policy, which is essentially a new deal between the state and its citizens, including businesses. But all the above mentioned need to be institutionalized. That is why we are proceeding with a new ambitious horizontal framework law on the organization of these relations between citizens, businesses, and the state. This new regulatory framework will institutionalize what I have described above, but will also codify and modernize all the rules regarding the state's procedures towards citizens and businesses. This new horizontal regulatory framework, we hope that we will have it ready by the end of July. Of course, there are other actions that we are proceeding and that touch upon the area of the shipping industry and the seaports that we are already discussing, and innovative ideas regarding this area. Smart cities, for example, a big project that we are preparing for all local administration that touches upon issues that have to do with seaports, and we're working together with our colleagues from the Ministry of Naval Affairs. And I'm certain that now we have the funding, both from the recovery funds, but also from the new cohesion policy and the new operational program of digital governance that we're going to have in our ministry, that we're going to increase the pace of projects that had been delayed for so many years, even in smart ports and solutions that include new technologies, AI, blockchain, data governance issues in these platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, finishing, I hope I didn't tire you. I would say that policies are always easy to describe in such panels, and they're much more difficult to implement. And believe me, working in this area for almost 15 years now, I can admit that I recognize that you all have heard many of these things many times before. However, I think that what we have accomplished as a state altogether and inside difficult times and through difficult times, I don't think it has been accomplished before during the past years, especially in the areas of digital governance as well as in the area of simplification of procedures. And I think it is time for each sector of the economy to embrace this new era, as we saw in this particular area, since technology and good governance on our behalf are the key elements for economic development, growth, and transparency. And essentially what we're trying to do is to build back better and restore the trust between all the vital elements of the Greek society and the Greek economy, businesses, citizens, the state. We have a long way to go still. We have a lot of things to do, but I think that right now we're in a good place after 2.5 years that we have embarked on this digital transformation agenda. We are now in a very good place, and I think that it is getting better every day with our collaboration and by working together. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a very interesting discussion in the panel.
Mr. Secretary General, very enlightening presentation. The process simplification is moving very fast, and it is good to know that there is a governmental support in this, and in order to be able to offer additional services to the citizens and the community in general. Now let's move to our last discussion panel. Data and AI-based applications are the key enablers towards the Seaports transformation. Seaports will then become really smart and cognitive. Data sharing, security, and privacy are considered as the major concerns of the industry players. The data experts of this panel will enlighten us not only about the concerns, but also about the available solutions. Meet our panel members, Mrs. Fotini Papathanasiou. Fotini Papathanasiou is a data privacy officer for OTE Group. She has more than 15 years of experience in data protection and information security, mostly in the telecommunication sector. Before joining OTE Group, she had worked in consulting and banking sector as an information security expert. Fotini holds a degree in informatics and telecommunications from the University of Athens and a master's in analytics, design and management of information systems from the London School of Economics. Our next panel member from Spain, Madrid, Mr. Eliseo Venegas Mayoral, is a telecommunication engineer graduated in electronics from the Technical University of Madrid and is finishing a master's degree in cybersecurity and privacy at the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya, specializing in cybersecurity areas of GRC and blockchain solutions. He currently works as a cybersecurity analyst for NTT Data, participating in several projects at European level. Eliseo has specialized in risk management and security policy development as well as blockchain solution, focusing on blockchain solution definition, smart contracts implementation, and smart contracts auditing. Dr. Vasilis Nikolopoulos is an active deep tech entrepreneur, corporate executive, investor and mentor, applied researcher and passionate with technology, futurology, and technology transfer. In the last 20 years, Vasilis has been working in applied research, technology transfer, and innovation management procedure, focusing on the big data problems applied in utilities and the energy sector, especially in smart grids. He co-founded the deep tech Intelend, one of the most successful startups in the digital energy and utility analytics market, having some big utilities as clients. He is the head of applied research and development innovation at Protergia Mytilineos SA, leading the corporate technology transfer, research and development innovation strategy, and the conversion process of applied research results into innovative products and services. Our last panel member, Mr. Vretos Moulos. He has obtained a diploma in information and communication system engineering from the Aegean University, a master's in advanced computing from Imperial College, a master's in computing IT law and management from King's College, and a master's in techno-economic systems from NTUA. He received his PhD from the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering of NTUA and is working as a research associate at ICCS. He has participated in several EU-funded projects, and he was a co-founder of 2 startup companies in UK. Moreover, he was member of the advisory board of the International Security Management Knowledge Alliance, the most actually technical panel of today. So thank you all for being here. And let's have, let's say, a common question to all of you. Do you believe that privacy and security issues can be a blocking factor in the data sharing environment? And let's start from the lady of the panel, Fotini.
Thank you, Christos, and thank you for the invitation. If I would change the question, I would say that the answer would be the same when asking if in an area like Greece, we could go without any anti-seismic measures when we're constructing buildings. I would say that the answer would be obvious in the majority of the audience, that this is a no-go. You will always need to have anti-seismic protection in order to ensure that you have resilience in the constructions. And the same goes with privacy and security and data innovation. For me, the only way that we can succeed in this journey is to travel hand in hand, innovation with security and privacy. Although that means that we need to accept that this comes with a cost in terms of effort, resources, skills that we need to build. But there is no other option if we want to have a successful and resilient data economy.
Vasilis?
Yeah, well, from my side, I would say that we have to stretch a line. The line is very thin in between privacy concerns and how to, let's say, drive new business innovation models based on data analytics. I would say that because the golden answer to the important question is who owns data. The data creator actually owns data. So I would say that one, because the European mentality is not the same with the US. The US are less reluctant with privacy issues, so this is why we see their data-driven innovation flourishing. So in Europe, we have the GDPR, which is now a problem for many companies to drive and to flourish data business and data-driven innovation models. So I would say that we have to take the data creator and we have, I would say, to put him in the innovation model. So we have to, let's say, communicate that to our users because they are the data creators, and we have to make them data entrepreneurs. This is a new wave right now that there are many startups that are raising funding towards that direction. So they actually give you incentives to give them their data, your data, so that to aggregate them and to, let's say, produce something good, something innovative. So my opinion is there is a thin line. We have to stretch, we have to see where the privacy ends and where the data innovation begins. And the second tip, I would say, to put the data creator inside the innovation question, either communities or individual users, to give them the incentives to give us data so that to become data entrepreneurs.
Do you believe that the regulatory, okay, it might be a blocking factor in some cases, but also the lack of knowledge from the citizens, because sometimes the citizens themselves might be the data creator, as you mentioned.
Exactly. This is why awareness plays an essential role in that. They have to understand that maybe by giving us data, they will get more personalized services, they will get something more. Okay,
they need to be more aware of the benefits in order to be more attractive.
Yeah, for me, this is a big key, especially for the European space. The US space has, they're less, let's say, reluctant to that degree.
What do the tech experts of the panel believe. Eliseo, what's your opinion? Do you believe that privacy and security issues can be a blocking factor? Can you hear us, Eliseo?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay,
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be part of this conference. In my point of view, privacy and security are key elements in data sharing environments, but also into every information technology context, because it is obvious that everyone wants their system to be secure and to avoid potential attacks and incidents that may cause some harm into their systems or into maybe some economic losses or to have some reputational damage. So for understanding what we mean with privacy and security, we have to understand that the security is the art of protecting networks and devices and also data from unauthorized access and criminal use. So we understand the cybersecurity in a holistic point of view, not mention just or not securing just one part of the solution or the data sharing environment, but all of it during all the life cycle, but also in all the layers. This is known as security in depth, not only to secure data, but every layer in the system. For example, the application security, the endpoint security, operations, but also policy management, as you were mentioning, the awareness and training of users, but also IT specialists with manage and develop the system. In our point of view, the people is the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain, and training and awareness is quite important here.
Thank you. Bertos?
I have to say...
As a researcher and especially active in data processing.
Yeah. Actually, I have to say that if we see the technology that we have to implement in order to reach out and answer all these restrictions that we have from the legislation, if we have the money, the funding, then in maybe 2 or 3 years we can have it. As for the legislation, again, if we have the will, we can also have it in a few years. But the most important thing is how we are, have this culture to the people, how we persuade them to follow specific guidelines and rules and best practices in order to protect themselves and their data. That is something that we cannot answer giving a timeline. So if you are the first one that you are going to force a community to follow specific legislations and rules, you have the advantage that you will be the first one that you will educate your people to the new way, to have a new mentality, the mentality that is going to be used by the IT companies, by the shipping sector that we have in our panel now, and of course to the state. So having that, we can say that if we are state-of-the-art to the legislation, then we can for sure open a new market and companies that are going to overcome these obstacles. So maybe we can be the one that we will provide the technology to other countries like US, where to the other IT sectors are far from us, in front of us.
Thank you. I think that the technology owners, technology providers in general, they need to persuade, let's say, if I may use this word, the data owners, whether they are large enterprises, organizations, the public sector, the citizens, in order to be more willing to to share their data. Of course, through the secure and safe technology scenarios and so on. So, Fotini, data is expected to lead the transformation of the seaports in order to become smart and cognitive, especially using AI-based applications. What are the concerns of the telecom operators that handle and processes vast amounts of data? Telecoms will be required a key element in this market.
Yes, that's true. Unfortunately, in the telecom sector, we're even more regulated than any other companies. As it's not only GDPR that applies to our industry, we have sector-specific legislation that hasn't been reformed. We still have the privacy directives that the last update of it was back in 2009. And the rules that we need to abide with are very restrictive in relation to processing of traffic and location data, which are of more value and interest also for this kind of projects. So it's, I would say it's a big challenge to find a way to process data in a way that is compliant with the law. A lot of, I would say, misunderstandings goes with anonymized data and the anonymization processes, as anonymized data are not in the scope of regulation. Nevertheless, the whole anonymization process must be done in a way that is compliant with the law. That means that you need to have, for example, legal basis for anonymizing data. You need to inform the data subjects. You need to make sure that you have the processes to accommodate their rights. So unless we have in the near future a more flexible framework, I don't think that we'll have much flexibility in making, I would say, taking advantage of all this data value that we have.
Yeah, it's still unstable, the environment. So we need to fix this first. Thank you. Eliseo, what are the technologies that can guarantee the transparency, trust, privacy, confidentiality, or even integrity that is needed in the data sharing environment? Does DataPorts offer any of these, any of them?
Well, when we talk about transparency, trust, privacy, confidentiality, and integrity as a whole,
too many terms,
yeah.
but these are the terms that are needed in order to persuade the data owners, data creators, as Vasilis mentioned earlier, in order to ease their concerns.
Yeah, that's right. And the main technology that comes to my mind is the blockchain technology. As you probably know, actually, blockchain is growing technology with an increased market acceptance. Although it is in a development stage due to its lack of maturity. Therefore, its full potential has not been exploited yet. And I think we should keep working on that, on make a blockchain more mature to exploit all the potential that it has. Blockchain is a shared and immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking assets in business networks. Due to the decentralization of the networks, all the actors in the data sharing environment will have some responsibility. So every partner, every actor should be trusted. The immutability of the blockchain also makes that nothing can be deleted or modified, and makes the integrity of the data, ensures the integrity. Blockchain also provides some transparency because every transaction is public and can be checked by every actor or anyone, and the traceability is also recorded in the blockchain. But in DataPorts, we do not just rely on blockchain due to all these properties that blockchain has and all the transparency, privacy, confidentiality, and integrity that it can ensure. And we try to add more security requirements and security mechanisms like cryptography in communications and information address and identity management of user and process through authentication and authorization. Because as I said before, we understand security as a whole in a holistic point of view and taking into account several layers, so we cannot trust just in one unique technology and solution.
Well, I believe blockchain has all the benefits that you mentioned about transparency, trust. But many people believe that it's about cryptocurrency, which is half true. So I think that the technology providers and all those that are dealing about blockchain need to better inform the capabilities of the blockchain technology. And on top of that, there is a notion that blockchain is expensive as a solution. Is that true?
Not really. It could be expensive, but it is not always expensive. Depends on how it is defined and how it is implemented. There are several already deployed. There are several blockchain networks that any partner could join and try to avoid some cost participating in these networks.
So the technology is there in order to solve problems. Vasilis, smart seaports should also be green, correct? Do you believe that the energy providers can play a key role in this emerging data-driven market to perhaps lead or co-lead or have an active role in the digital transformation of the seaports?
Yeah, definitely. And I will just put one magic word here, the ESGs, okay? I mean, right now, ESGs are growing fast. It is the first time that we have sustainability connected with the financial institutions. Since now, we had CSR, corporate marketing, and green marketing, that's all. Right now, we have some specific green KPIs that we can take advantage and we can relate them, not we, actually our clients, our corporate clients, they can connect them with their intrinsic value, financial value. So we see ESG's values being connected with the stock market price. Okay, that's important. And this is where the relevant KPIs, the energy, the sustainability KPIs will be adopted in a wide scale. And of course, the seaports and everything that is being connected with the shipping, because shipping as well has very strong ESGs. There are things, some regulatory frameworks that demand from the ships to be green or to, to have some sort of regulations on board. So I think that the combination of the modern technology, the modern energy technology, I've seen also some relevant projects where huge or big storage devices and storage infrastructures are being set into ports. So that or we have big ships or big vessels that they could actually take solar or electrical energy stored into their vessel. So I think that the combination of the modern smart grid technology, the combination and the usage of the ESGs, and of course, the openness of the data, definitely there's a lot of discussion going on right now. We in the energy sector, we have some advantages because among the data, there are some physical parameters, those physical data that we can actually share, so they're not related to strict privacy rules, like the energy consumption of one region, okay, or some other related energy KPIs. So these are related to some physical parameters that could be shared among the scientists or among the community, and based on them, based on these KPIs, they can actually they can drive innovation. So yes, definitely, I think that we can drive community and society towards that direction, especially with the shipping industry, especially with the ports. And as I mentioned before, there are several pilots and projects now where big storage devices or electrical EV charging stations are being set up in ports, so we can actually relate the electric energy and connect the energy, the sustainable green energy, with a vessel, with a ship going in and out in a port.
Telecom and energy providers actually share not only the same challenges and risks, but also the same opportunities.
Of course.
So
a challenge is an opportunity, and from an entrepreneurial point of view, okay. A problem is an opportunity, so we have to see everything as an opportunity. I'm an entrepreneur, so I have this point of view.
That's good. Looking forward to collaborate in a forthcoming research proposal. It would be great. Vretos, do you believe that the innovative solutions that are now available for data processing can guarantee or ease the concerns of the data owners mentioned earlier in order to allow them to share their data?
Actually, in order to build that trust, we have first to identify the key pillars that we have to stay on top in order to have a solid construction. For me, the first pillar is the legislation provided by state or the best practices and guidelines that are provided by alliances like Cloud Security Alliance, ACM, or even NIST. The second key pillar is the technology, where zero trust and the security by design architectures and implementations takes a key role here. And the third one, at least for me, is the outsourcing, where you can provide, you can give these hot topics and key features to other companies in order to be sure about the result. So the people that excel on that, let's take the example not only to the security, but also to the storage, to the processing. So technologies like cloud computing, or even better, serverless architecture using microservices could facilitate these challenges and provide us and ensure us about the result.
Thank you. Do you believe, that goes to all of you, that the knowledge transfer and synergies could unblock the concerns of the industries and benefit from the data exploitation? Eliseo?
Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, the knowledge transfer, whether it is from startup companies, research institutions, SMEs, any technology provider, the knowledge transfer and the synergies, are they able to unblock the concerns of the industries, the concerns that are presented by Fotini and Vasilis, representing the industries in this panel?
Well, I think that every interchange of ideas and technologies and any cooperation can be a good way to address all the concerns and every potential problem that it may appear.
Vasilis, synergies and knowledge transfer. I know you are pretty much active in this.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the basic key of modern innovation is ecosystem management. Okay, so you have to put everything together, which is the common denominator of the open innovation concept. Of course, if we have synergies from data providers, from industrial partners, from research institutes, and make them collaborate with each other, okay, under a technology transfer framework, definitely things will evolve pretty fast. However, again, I stress out the end user. I stress out the guys, the clients that are actually the data creators and at the same time are the service receivers. Okay, so we have to convince them that as soon as you post or as soon as you give us data, you will receive a very, very personalized service. In the meantime, yes, we can gather the best of breed to make the algorithms, to make the data analytics, to make everything. But for me, right now, the next step will be to innovate not on the data management, but on the data creation. Because in general, for the new startups that arise right now, the key differentiation point is not the best algorithm, because there is not the best algorithm. There are many, many more smarter people than us that they have better algorithms. So they can reach you or they can overpass you. The key factor for me with all these ecosystems is how to innovate on data creation. So right now, in the corporate and startup space, the unique differentiation, it is the ones, the companies or the communities that they have data that others do not. So the way of creating innovative data structures or creating or correlating unique data sets, for me, it's the key. And this is where collaborations and ecosystems can work together to approach new data sources or to create new data sources so that to be able to manage them and analyze them.
I think it's the work that needs to be done by the innovation units of large organizations. They need to lead the knowledge transfer.
Definitely, definitely. Correlation, and ecosystem management is the key to modern innovation right now.
Fotini, your opinion for...
Yes, I would like to add to that I believe it's also critical in these synergies and these ecosystems to innovate in privacy-enhancing technologies, because I see a big gap there. There are a lot of ideas on how to use data, and I fully agree that the algorithms is not the issue. This can be easily developed. But a prerequisite for using the data is to make sure that we have the technology there that will ensure that it's secure and private. And this is also a critical factor to build trust for the customer, for the end user, so that he can provide his consent. Because the major concern in this case is not that he will not receive a personalized service. This is something that is happening every day. We're used to that. I think the major concern is whether the data are actually secure and protected where they are kept. So I think that would be also an area where we would expect more innovation from this ecosystem to develop in the coming years.
Britos, as a tech representative, if I may say?
Maybe it's a good time to use the DataPorts case, where we identified that the easier solution in order to overcome the problem with data ownership and how we are going to use the data and in what form was to create an ecosystem where everyone could use the data
and benefit
the data with using a
in more ways, in many ways.
Yeah. Having the idea of a marketplace where the only thing that we are responsible for is just to protect and persuade the SMEs, not only the end users, but also the people that are going to use the data, the developers, the SMEs, or the huge companies, that we can provide that middleware that is important in order to ensure, from one hand, that the data owners will still have the right to access the data and have the right to delete the data from the developer, but also from the developing point of view, to have the opportunity to use the data in a secure way and in a managed way that we need, using an easy-to-use API.
You mentioned data-driven marketplaces. The benefit doesn't have necessarily to be financial. Data is also a power. They say that data is the new gold. So
in the end,
we need to look into
everything
this.
It's about money, so.
True. So one last comment from all of you. Taking into account the restrictions of the European regulatory environment, how close do you believe we are on the data exploitation platform? Yeah, Fotini, please.
I think that currently the developments in the regulation are in favor of these data sharing models, at least with the priority that is given to Data Governance Act and Data Act from the EU, and the objectives for the digital agenda for 2030. It seems like this is a priority, and not in order to facilitate this type of innovation. On the other hand, I believe whether we'll see in the near future this kind of platforms mostly rely on the capacity of the EU and also the companies to invest in this kind of new technologies and in the development of the competencies of the people that need to be in place in order to create value out of these projects and ecosystems. And if I compare it with the cloud industry, we see that currently the market is still dominated by the US providers. Still, the EU initiatives are very limited and the percentage is very small. So to be honest, I don't think that this is something that will come, at least in big scale, in the near future. Of course, there will be a lot of initiatives from startups and other companies, but I don't think that we are there that will have in real big scale this kind of applications,
We're
at least in
moving to
Europe.
this direction, but we're not close yet. You know, from one point, EU is driving all the effort to open data and sharing data economy, new marketplaces, data monetization, all these buzzwords. And on the other hand, the regulatory environment restricts and is actually a blocking factor for large organizations or even individuals to actually share data and benefit. Because we're talking about data exploitation and the benefits for organizations, for the citizens, the businesses, the research in academia, everyone can benefit. And those restrictions are blocking factors. Vasilis?
Yeah.
Last comment on this.
I agree on that. And I would again stress out that European Commission tries to do things on open data platforms, especially under the Smart City Now umbrella. We try to push the municipalities to publish data. However, again and again, at the end, you have to accept terms and conditions, okay? And it's the user that will tap on the button. So again, I just say again...
He needs to be educated, though.
Yeah. For me, that's the key. I mean,
and informed.
I have the marketplace ready. I have everything ready. I have the encryption ready. I have everything ready. So at the end, somebody has to accept the terms and conditions. And if he taps no, I don't have nothing from him. No cookies, no nothing. So I'm just there waiting another data source. So for me, it's good for the European Commission to go towards that direction. But at the same time, I would require from the European Commission to run a very, very big awareness campaign on data sharing.
Indeed, that is what is missing, actually.
It's not the case yet. We are in the laws now, we are in the clauses on data protection. In all EU projects are now, except for the ethical, we have the data sharing and the data management deliverable, okay? That's cool, that's everything okay. However, we need to get out of the legal suit and we have to go to the users, to the Europeans, and drive them towards that direction, to put them in the center, okay, and explain them, raise their awareness on this data sharing campaign. I think that's something that we have to and we need to see from the European Commission.
Bretos, do you share the same beliefs as
yeah,
Fotini
actually,
and
I think
Vasilis?
it's a feasible solution. It's the one that if we persuade the owners of the data or the creators of the data somehow to publish the data to our platform, then we have unlimited ideas where we can implement and use algorithms to provide services and implementations for the people. So that's the only obstacle that we have right now, and I'm not sure if technology can help us on that, but for sure education is a factor that can help us, because the momentum, we already have that momentum, and it is increasing incrementally. So yeah, why not?
Thank you, thank you. That was my last comment. This panelists came to the end. I think we managed to lay the floor and make aware both the challenges, the risks, but also the opportunities for the large industries, large organizations that someday will be the pool of data sources or the aggregators. We presented the views of the technology owners, the technology providers. I understand that the technology is here, it exists, and the next steps would be to inform the people, inform the individuals, inform all the potential, let's say, actors in this data-driven market, and only then we'll see it appear in front of us. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Costas.
DataPort session came to its end. I think we managed to bring together technology providers to bring the perspective and the solutions that come from the European Union funded projects, to see and to hear the view of the policymakers, the business needs, and finally to discuss about the concerns and the challenges that are shared and discussed today. I would like to thank you all for being here, both those that watched us through the live streaming and all of you that participated in physical in this event, policymakers, researchers, Seaport representatives, banking industry, telcos, SMEs, academia, students. I think the message is the digital transformation of the seaports will come through synergies. Thank you very much.